want to revisit what Christie Sides had to say after the Fever lost to the Mystics yesterday, because I don't think I caught it in the first listen to her post-game press conference when it comes to the starting lineup change. Because it's odd for a team to beat the New York Liberty and then change the starting lineup after a win like that, which the Fever did. Of course, they had previously changed the lineup, putting Katie Lou Samuelson in for Christy Wallace. And then you see Lexie Hull go into the lineup, Katie Lou Samuelson stays, and NaLyssa Smith goes out right after a game where NaLyssa Smith really competed, got a lot of rebounds, and played very well. So here was what Christie Sides said after the game when asked about that lineup change.
Start the second half, and I'm curious what you thought of the starting lineup change and how it impacted the whole game.
Yeah, I don't think it impacted the whole game. That was a coach's decision, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay, there goes my next question. I was going to ask you what the thinking was behind making that change. You're not going to answer.
That was just the coach's decision, and that's what we're going to leave it.
All right.
So she specifically is emphasizing coach's decision. And at no point in her answer does she go into any basketball reasons for the decision, which one would think a coach who's making a coach's decision based on basketball reasons would do when pressed on such a query. And it makes me think that NaLyssa Smith was removed from the starting lineup for non-basketball reasons. I don't want to go too far in assumptions, disciplinary, whatever the case may be. Something off the court that she didn't start that game because of. That, to me, it screams at having watched that back. And it was Sides, I think, trying to protect that in that answer. Trying to say, it's a coach's decision, we're not going any further into it. Because if she were to go further into it, she would open up the questions about exactly what happened with NaLyssa Smith. Of course, Smith has had an interesting season for a number of reasons. And obviously, she's got her thing with Dejanay Carrington. That's their business. I don't care. But as far as, she was already removed from the starting lineup earlier in the year. And she's very talented. But I think sometimes you can question her motor. She's had games where she had defensive lapses, like against the Chicago Sky. Angel Reese ate her up inside. But Smith is a huge key for this team because really, I think you can say fairly that this Indiana Fever squad is going to get production from Caitlin Clark, obviously. They're going to get production from Aaliyah Boston almost every night. The Mystics game thrown out the window because of the fouls. They're going to get production from Kelsey Mitchell almost every night. Again, throughout the Mystics game, she had an uncharacteristic shooting performance in that game. But they're going to get points from those three. When NaLyssa Smith is also scoring for the team, that makes their offense very potent. And Smith has gotten better at running the fast break. Of course, you had the Clark to Smith connection on the one play, the behind the back pass in the game. That took place in the comeback for the Indiana Fever. And NaLyssa Smith is also a presence on the boards. When she really hustles out there, she makes a huge difference on the boards. But you see her out running the floor in transition here. And that's, the difference for a lot of the players on the Fever as the season has gone along, how quickly they've gotten out in transition. You can see Smith guarding on the perimeter, down there with Dolson, and then she's gone, right? Like, it's the fact that she's running the floor hard there that allows her to be rewarded by Clark. And the starting lineup, to me, going forward, needs to be Aaliyah Boston, NaLyssa Smith, Lexie Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark. I can make a case for Teme Fagbenle in the Smith spot, but I don't know Teme's health status. She was out for a while with the foot. Now she's out with the hand. She really didn't catch or finish cleanly with the hand injury. And then there's Lexie Hull, who, if Christie Sides was making a real coach's decision, would have been in for Katie Lou Samuelson. Because Samuelson is essentially just a spot-up shooter. She doesn't bring anything else to the team. She's too slow defensively. She doesn't rebound well enough. Well, Hull has been the common denominator in a lot of these huge Indiana Fever runs. You know, she's the most connective player, I would say, on the team in that swing spot, which they've struggled to fill. But you can see Hull on this play. She's fighting down there for position against a big, gets up and hustles up, knocks the ball forward, right? Running the floor there fast, hard. You can see her running the floor, gets into a spot up shot, knocks it down. If she can do that sort of stuff for Indiana, they're going to win a lot of games with her in that spot. And if you notice, you know, they had to come back against the Liberty, right? They came back against the Liberty. It was the 5 that I mentioned that were on the floor. They came back in that game against the Mystics. They didn't finish the comeback, but they certainly came back in that game against the Mystics, and it was that 5 on the floor. And I think at this point, it is glaringly clear, and I'm watching what Christie Sides does in the next game. If that's not the lineup, I got a problem with the coach. If it is the lineup, I've got no problem with the coach. Because I do think, having watched back what she said, whatever happened with Smith and the lineup was something internal. Again, I don't want to speculate too much because I don't know. But the way Christie Sides said it, Sides is not the best in these pressers, and she doesn't come across the warmest, and you can tell, you know, there's a lot coming at her too. Like, she's never been under this level of microscope or these sort of lights before. So she has to adjust and deal with it. But the team as a whole has improved greatly, right? Like, so if we're going to give Caitlin Clark credit for improving greatly, if we're going to give the other players on the team, the other All-Stars, credit for improving greatly, I think it's only fair we also give the coach credit for improving greatly. She hasn't been perfect, far from it. And she's made some mistakes in what she said and articulated. But that one schematic decision, if you will, with the starting lineup, I'm willing to overlook for the moment, because after going back, I think there may be more than meets the eye to it. Now my eyes are focused on Christie Sides and what she does with the starting lineup going forward, because Lexie Hull needs to be on the floor with the rest of the best players on the team. Needs to. NaLyssa Smith, you know, until Fag Bentley's injury situation is resolved, needs to be on the floor with the 3 All-Stars. And then, of course, the 3 All-Stars are All-Stars for a reason. And the Fever are going to rely heavily on Clark, Mitchell, and Boston all season.